The water exploded upward. Min-Jun's lungs burned as hands, cold, impossibly strong, dragged him deeper into the river. Above him, moonlight fractured into 1,000 silver pieces. Below him, darkness waited with open arms. "Remember me," he gasped, water flooding his mouth. "Please, Idemmili, remember?" The goddess stared at him with empty eyes, her face beautiful and merciless. She didn't recognize him. She didn't remember their love. And in seconds he would drown. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This story began 3 days earlier with a mistake that would defy the gods themselves. Min-Jun had been in Onitsha for exactly 48 hours, and his body still hadn't forgiven him for the flight. The market pulsed with life, a riot of colors, voices, and smells that overwhelmed his jet-lagged senses. Women balanced towers of goods on their heads with impossible grace. Men argued prices in rapid Igbo that his translator app couldn't keep up with. Somewhere, palm wine flowed freely, and the air was thick with roasting plantains and stockfish. "Korea man, you come see my palm kernel." A trader grabbed his arm, grinning widely. "Best quality for your cream business." Min-Jun smiled tiredly. "Tomorrow. I promise." He'd been saying that for 2 days now. His family's cosmetics company, Lumiere Sol, needed palm kernel oil, the pure, raw kind that would revolutionize their new skincare line. But every negotiation turned into an hours-long dance of tea, stories, and haggling that left him exhausted. The sun was dropping fast, painting the sky in shades of orange and blood red. "Oga Korea." An elderly woman called out, her voice sharp with warning. "Market closing soono. You know suppose day here after 7. Not tradition." "I know mama. I'm leaving soon." But soon became just 5 more minutes, and 5 minutes became an hour. By the time Min-Jun stumbled toward the barn where he'd stored his samples, his eyes were already closing. The barn smelled like earth and palm kernels. Stacks of goods created a maze of shadows. Min-Jun collapsed onto a pile of jute sacks for just a moment, just to rest his eyes. Just 5 minutes. Sleep took him like a thief. When he woke, the world had changed. The barn was dark. Not evening dark, night dark. The kind of darkness that pressed against your skin and whispered warnings. Min-Jun's phone screen glared, 9:47 p.m. Shit. He scrambled up, heart hammering. The market curfew. Everyone had warned him. Don't stay past 7. Don't break tradition. Don't disrespect the old ways. But nobody had explained why. Outside, the market was a ghost town. Stalls stood empty, their colorful fabrics now gray in moonlight. The cheerful chaos had been replaced by a silence so complete, Min-Jun could hear his own breathing. Then he heard something else. Singing. It came from the direction of the river, a woman's voice achingly beautiful, singing in a language that predated words. The melody wrapped around him like silk, tugging him forward. "Hello." Min-Jun called out, knowing it was stupid, unable to stop himself. The singing continued. He followed it through empty stalls, past closed shops, toward the river that bordered the market. With each step, the air grew thicker, heavier, electric with something he couldn't name. The river appeared suddenly and Min-Jun's breath caught. The water glowed. Not reflected moonlight, actual luminescence, as if the river itself had swallowed stars. Mist rolled off the surface in waves, and in that mist, shapes moved. Human shapes. Dancing. Min-Jun ducked behind a palm tree, his rational mind screaming at him to run. But he couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't look away. 7 women stood in the river, water lapping at their waists. They wore white that seemed to be made of water itself, flowing and reforming with each movement. Their skin gleamed like polished mahogany, and their hair moved independently, floating around them like living things. They were singing, hands raised to the moon, and the river responded. The water rose in spirals around them, defying gravity, creating pillars of liquid light. This was the secret ritual. This was why mortals didn't come to the market after dark. Min-Jun should have run. Should have closed his eyes. Should have done anything except watch. But then she emerged from the water. The other women were beautiful. She was devastating. She rose from the river's center like a dream taking form. Water cascaded down her body, curves that would make sculptors weep, skin that caught moonlight and made it jealous. Her hair flowed past her waist in waves that matched the river's current, black shot through with silver. But it was her eyes that destroyed him. They swept across the riverbank, glowing with ancient power, and locked directly onto his. Time stopped. Min-Jun felt it in his chest first, a pulling sensation like a fishhook lodged in his heart. The woman's eyes widened and something flickered across her perfect face. Surprise. Recognition. Fear. What? The other women froze mid-song. The river stopped its spiraling. The world held its breath. Mortal. Her voice rolled across the water like thunder. You have seen what is forbidden. The other women turned as one, and their beautiful faces twisted with rage. He has witnessed the sacred transformation. The laws are clear, death to any who see. His blood must feed the river. They moved through the water like missiles, impossibly fast, and Min-Jun finally remembered how to move. He stumbled backwards, tripped over a root, and crashed to the ground. The women emerged from the river, water streaming off them, their eyes blazing with divine fury. Wait. The voice cut through the chaos like a blade. She, the one who had emerged last, now stood between Min-Jun and the others. Up close she was even more breathtaking. Even more terrifying. Idemmili, one of the women hissed. The law. I know the law, Ogbide. Idemmili's eyes never left Min-Jun's face. But look at him. Really look. The woman hesitated, confusion replacing rage. Idemmili took a step closer. Then another. Min-Jun's heart was a war drum in his chest. She crouched before him, so close he could smell her, like rain and river stones and something wild. You speak English? She asked, her accent a melody of British colonial influence and something far older. Why yes, Min-Jun managed. Korean? He nodded, unable to form words. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a threat. Interesting. And what is your name, foolish mortal who breaks sacred law? Min-Jun. Park Min-Jun. Min-Jun. She tasted his name like wine. I am Idemmili, goddess of this river, daughter of the supreme god Chukwu, keeper of truth and purity. Sorry? I didn't know. I fell asleep in the barn and... Shoo. She pressed a finger to his lips and electricity shot through him. The why doesn't matter. Only the consequence. Idemmili. Ogbide's voice was sharp. We must summon the council. The gods must decide his fate. No. Idemmili stood, her expression fierce. I will handle this. You cannot. I am the river goddess of Onitsha. Power crackled in her voice and the river surged behind her. This is my domain. My judgment. Mine alone. The women exchanged glances, worried, knowing glances. Sister, one whispered. You felt it too. We all saw. When your eyes met his. Leave us. Idemmili's command left no room for argument. The river women melted back into the water, becoming mist, becoming memory. Within seconds, Min-Jun and Idemmili were alone with the glowing river and a moon that had witnessed too much. Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. You should be dead already, Idemmili finally said, but her voice was soft now. Almost sad. Why am I not? She turned to face him fully, and the raw vulnerability in her eyes punched the air from his lungs. Because when our eyes met, Park Min-Jun from Korea, I felt something I had never felt in 3,000 years of existence. She took a shaking breath. The mortals call it chemistry. Connection. Fate. Min-Jun stood slowly, his legs unsteady. And what do goddesses call it? Forbidden. The word hung between them like a guillotine blade. Every mortal who has seen a goddess in her true form has died, Idemmili continued, moving closer despite herself. Every goddess who has loved a mortal has brought catastrophe. It is the oldest law. The most sacred prohibition. And yet you're telling me this instead of killing me. And yet. She was close enough to touch now. I am breaking a 3,000-year vow by even speaking to you like this. Min-Jun's mind raced. This was insane. Impossible. He should be running. Should be screaming. But all he could think about was how the moonlight caught in her hair, how her eyes held galaxies, how his entire body felt alive in a way it never had before. What happens now? He whispered. Idemmili reached out, her hand hovering near his face but not quite touching, as if she was afraid of what might happen if she did. Now. Her voice broke. Now the gods come to judge you. And Min-Jun. A single tear rolled down her perfect cheek. I cannot save you from them. The wind picked up suddenly, violently. The river churned. Thunder cracked across a cloudless sky. And from nowhere and everywhere, voices spoke as one. Idemmili river goddess. Park Min-Jun mortal. You stand accused of breaking sacred law. The council of gods is summoned. The judgment begins at dawn. They came with the first light. Min-Jun had spent the night by the river with Idemmili, neither of them speaking, both of them knowing these might be his last hours. She told him stories, about her creation, about the village she protected, about the countless years of watching mortals live and die while she remained unchanged. Do you ever get lonely? Min-Jun had asked as a false dawn painted the sky gray. Every single day, she'd whispered. Now as true dawn broke, the gods arrived. The air split open like a wound and they stepped through, beings of power and terror and impossible beauty. Min-Jun felt his knees buckle under the weight of their presence. Amadioha came first, the thunder god, crackling with barely contained lightning. His skin was dark as storm clouds, his eyes pure white electricity. Power radiated from him in waves that made Min-Jun's teeth ache. Ani followed, the earth goddess, her body seeming to shift between woman and mountain. Flowers bloomed and died in her footsteps. Her gaze held the patience and cruelty of nature itself. Then came Ekwensu, Agwu, Aikna, gods of war, healing, achievement. Each one is a force of nature wearing human skin. They formed a semicircle around Min-Jun and Idemmili, and their combined presence should have killed him on the spot. Mortal. Amadioha's voice was thunder itself. You have witnessed what no living man should see. You have broken the oldest law. You stand in the presence of gods. Explain yourself before we erase you from existence. Min-Jun's mouth was dry as sand. He tried to speak, failed, tried again. I didn't mean to. Intent is meaningless. Lightning arced between Amadioha's fingers. The law is absolute. Brother, wait. Ani's voice was ancient, patient. Let the mortal speak. And let our sister explain why she has not already ended him. All eyes turned to Idemmili. She stood tall, her chin raised in defiance, but Min-Jun could see her hands trembling. I felt it, she said simply. The pull. The connection. You all know what it means. The gods went silent. No, Amadioha finally said. Absolutely not. You cannot ignore. It is precisely because I cannot ignore it that he must die. The thunder god's fury made the river boil. You know what happens when gods love mortals, Idemmili. You know the stories. I know the stories were written by gods who feared what they could not control. They feared the destruction. Amadioha roared. When gods and mortals love, disasters follow. Floods, droughts, wars. The last time a goddess gave her heart to a mortal, an entire kingdom fell. Thousands died. That was different. It is never different. He turned to Min-Jun and his eyes promised death. You Korean. You feel this pull too? Min-Jun met his gaze, knowing honesty might kill him. Yes. And you understand what asking for her love means? The chaos it will bring? Min-Jun looked at Idemmili, at this impossible, beautiful, ancient being who had somehow seen him, really seen him. I understand the rules say it's forbidden. But I also understand that sometimes rules exist because people are afraid of what they don't understand. Brave words for a dead man, Ekwensu, the trickster god, said with dark amusement. He speaks truth at least. Ani's expression was unreadable. That is rare in mortals. Truth or not, the law is clear. Amadioha raised his hand, lightning gathering in his palm. He must die before sunset. Idemmili, step aside. No. She moved between Min-Jun and the gathered gods, her body a shield. If you want him, you go through me. Sister. I have watched for 3,000 years. Her voice cracked with emotion. I have blessed every wedding, protected every child, answered every prayer. I have given everything to this land and its people. And in all that time, I have never asked for anything for myself. Until now. The words hung in the air like a prayer. Please, she continued, and tears streamed down her face. I am begging you. Not as a goddess, but as your sister who has never once broken faith. Do not take this from me. Do not take him. Ani stepped forward, her ancient eyes softening. Sweet Idemmili, we do not wish to hurt you. But the law. Then let me give him a choice. Idemmili's voice turned desperate. Let him choose his fate. Amadioha lowered his hand slightly. What choice? Idemmili turned to Min-Jun, her eyes fierce and terrified all at once. Come with me. To my kingdom beneath the river. Leave your mortal life behind, your family, your business, your world. Become something more. Live with me in the deep waters, and the gods cannot touch you there. Min-Jun's heart stopped. You want me to leave everything? Yes. Her voice broke. It is the only way I can save you. He stared at her, this goddess offering him immortality, offering him love beyond imagination. All he had to do was abandon everything he'd ever known. And if I refuse? He asked quietly. Then you die before sunset, Amadioha said flatly. Those are your options, mortal. Choose. Min-Jun looked at the gods, then at Idemmili's desperate face, then at the river that would become his prison or his grave. And then he did something no one expected. He laughed. Not hysterically, but with genuine reckless certainty. No, he said. Idemmili's face crumbled. Min-Jun. No to both. He stepped forward, addressing the gods directly. I won't hide in the river like a coward, and I won't die without fighting. I want a third option. There is no third option. Amadioha's patience was wearing thin. Then let me create one. Min-Jun's voice steadied, strengthened. You say gods and mortals can't love because it brings destruction. Fine. Let me prove you wrong. Give me a chance to prove our love is different. That it's worth breaking your ancient fears. Mortals don't make demands of gods, Ekwensu said, but there was curiosity in his voice. I'm not making demands. I'm proposing. Min-Jun turned to Idemmili. You've waited 3,000 years. I'm asking for 3 days. 3 trials. If I fail, I die. But if I succeed, if I prove myself worthy of a goddess's love, then you let us be together. No hiding. No running. Just, let us try. The gods exchanged glances. Interesting, Ani murmured. Foolish, Amadioha countered. But brave, Agwu the medicine god added thoughtfully. And courage in the face of certain death is compelling. 3 trials, Ani said slowly. 1 for each day. Each is designed to test whether you truly understand what you're asking for. Yes. Min-Jun's heart hammered, but his voice stayed steady. Amadioha's eyes blazed. And when he fails, and he will fail, he dies. Immediately. No mercy. No second chances. And if he succeeds? Idemmili's voice was barely a whisper. The thunder god's jaw clenched. Then we will discuss. That's not good enough. It's all I'll give. Lightning crackled around Amadioha. 3 trials. 3 days. If he survives, we convene again and vote. That is my final offer. Min-Jun looked at Idemmili. She was staring at him as he just volunteered to fight the sun. You don't have to do this, she whispered. You can come with me right now. Be safe. Safe isn't the same as free. He touched her face gently, the first real contact between them, and her sharp intake of breath told him she felt it too, that electric, impossible connection. I want to be with you, Idemmili. Not hiding. Not running. Really with you. And if I have to move heaven and earth to make the gods see that we deserve that chance, then that's what I'll do. You'll die. Maybe. He smiled. But at least I'll die trying. For a moment, the goddess looked almost mortal, vulnerable and afraid and desperately hopeful. Enough. Amadioha's command shook the ground. The trials begin at nightfall. Mortal, you have until dawn 3 days from now. Succeed and we vote. Fail and your soul feeds the river. What are the trials? Min-Jun asked. The thunder god's smile was cruel. You'll find out soon enough. But know this, they were designed by gods to break gods. No mortal has ever survived even one. The gods began to fade, reality opening to swallow them. Wait, Ani called out, turning back. Her ancient eyes met Min-Jun's. One more thing, Korean. The trials will not only test your body. They will test your heart, your mind, your very soul. And they will show you truths you may not wish to know. Are you certain you want this burden? Min-Jun didn't hesitate. Yes. Then may the earth hold you steady. She faded like morning mist. The gods vanished, leaving only Min-Jun and Idemmili and the rising sun. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Idemmili grabbed his shirt and pulled him close, her eyes blazing. You beautiful, idiotic, impossible man. You just volunteered to die. I volunteered to live, he corrected. There's a difference. You don't understand what you've done. These trials will either kill me or prove I'm worthy of you. He cupped her face in his hands. Idemmili, in 48 hours I felt more alive than I have in my entire life. If I have to walk through hell to keep feeling this way, then light the match. She kissed him then, sudden and fierce and desperate. It was like kissing starlight, like drowning in pure electricity. Min-Jun's entire body ignited, and he understood why gods and mortals weren't supposed to love. This feeling could tear the world apart. When they broke apart, both of them were shaking. If you die, Idemmili whispered against his lips, I will never forgive you. Then I guess I'd better not die. Night fell like a hammer. Min-Jun stood at the entrance to the Cave of Ancestors, and his courage faltered. The cave mouth was a wound in the earth, breathing out cold air that smelled of death and time. No light penetrated beyond the entrance. No sound emerged except a low, constant whisper. thousands of voices speaking all at once. I can't go in there with you. Idemmili stood beside him, her hand tight in his. The cave is warded against divine presence. Once you enter, you're alone. What am I looking for? The Oracle Stone. It lies at the cave's heart, guarded by the spirits of warriors who died protecting this land. You must take it and return before dawn. And if I don't? Then the trial failed and... She couldn't finish. Min-Jun pulled her close. I'll see you at dawn. With the stone. You don't know what's in there. The spirits, they're not peaceful dead, Min-Jun. They're warriors who died in rage and pain. They guard the stone because they blame the gods for their deaths. They will want to hurt you. Good thing I took Taekwondo for 8 years. Despite everything, she laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. I will guide you as much as I can. The cave has water running through it. Underground streams. I can speak through them, but I cannot protect you. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. She kissed him one more time, soft and gentle and terrified. Go. Before I lose my nerve and drag you into the river anyway. Min-Jun stepped into the cave of ancestors, and the darkness swallowed him whole. The temperature dropped instantly. His breath misted in the air. Behind him, the cave entrance shrank to a pinpoint of light, then vanished as he rounded a corner. Total darkness. Complete silence. Then, in the distance, he heard water dripping. Min-Jun pulled out his phone for light, but the screen flickered and died. He tried 3 times. Nothing. The cave was rejecting technology. Of course it is, he muttered. Min-Jun. Idemmili's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, carried on echoes of water. Follow the water sounds. They will lead you to the stone. He moved forward slowly, hands outstretched, feeling along the cave wall. The stone was rough and cold beneath his fingers. The dripping water grew louder. Minutes passed. Or hours. Time felt strange in the absolute dark. Then he heard something else. Footsteps. Behind him. Heavy. Deliberate. Min-Jun froze. Who's there? His voice echoed strangely. The footsteps stopped. Then came the laugh, low and cruel and decidedly unfriendly. Fresh meat, a voice growled. The gods send us fresh meat. More voices joined in, surrounding him. He smells of the river goddess. He smells of fear. He smells delicious. Light erupted suddenly, cold, blue flames that burned without heat. They revealed figures emerging from the cave walls like smoke taking shape. Warriors, or what had once been warriors. They wore ancient armor, carried rusted weapons, and their eyes burned with rage centuries old. 20 of them. 30. More materializing every second. The largest stepped forward, a man who must have been 7 feet tall in life. His face was a mask of scars, and his spear was stained with old blood. You seek the Oracle Stone, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Min-Jun forced his voice steady. Do you know why we guard it? Because the gods made you? The warrior's laugh was bitter. The gods abandoned us. We died defending this land from invaders. We prayed for help. We begged for divine intervention. His eyes blazed brighter. The gods never came. We died alone. In pain. In failure. And now we are cursed to guard their precious stone for eternity. I'm sorry that happened to you. Sorry? The warrior moved closer. Sorry doesn't resurrect the dead, Korean. Sorry doesn't ease the rage of 500 years. The other spirits closed in, forming a tight circle. But you, the warrior continued, you could ease it. The goddess loves you, doesn't she? We can smell it on you. Her essence. Her mark. Yes. Then your death will hurt her. And hurting the gods. His smile was terrifying. That would be satisfying. The spirits attacked as one. Min-Jun dove right, barely avoiding a sword that would have split his skull. He rolled, came up running, pure instinct driving him deeper into the cave. Behind him, the warrior spirits gave chase, their laughter echoing like thunder. You cannot escape. There is no way out. Your bones will join ours. Min-Jun ran blindly, the cold firelight casting everything in nightmare shadows. The cave twisted, branched, doubled back on itself. He was lost within seconds. A spear whistled past his ear. He ducked through a narrow passage, hoping they were too large to follow. They weren't. They simply melted through the stone like it didn't exist. Min-Jun. Idemmili's voice erupted from a puddle to his left. The stream. Follow the stream. He spotted it, a thin line of water cutting through the cave floor, glowing faintly with the same luminescence as the river. Min-Jun followed it, the spirit's howls growing closer. The stream led him through twisting passages, over slick rocks, past bones that were far too human. And then, suddenly, it opened into a vast chamber. The oracle stone stood at the chamber's center, a sphere of pure crystal the size of a basketball, floating 3 feet off the ground, spinning slowly. It pulsed with inner light, and Min-Jun could see shapes moving inside it. Visions. Possible futures. There. Idemmili's voice, triumphant. Take it and run. Min-Jun sprinted forward. The warrior spirits poured into the chamber, surrounding him, but they didn't attack. Instead, they stopped, forming a wall between him and the stone. You want the stone? The lead warrior's voice echoed. Then answer me this, Korean. Why should the gods' love be worth more than ours? Why should you get a happy ending when we died forgotten? Min-Jun stopped running. The question hit him harder than any weapon. You're right, he said quietly. The warrior blinked, surprised. What? You're right. Your deaths were unjust. The gods should have helped you. Your anger is justified. Then leave. Leave the stone. Leave the goddess. Let it all burn. No. Min-Jun met his eyes. Because you being treated unjustly doesn't mean I deserve the same. Your pain is real. Your anger is valid. But taking it out on me won't bring you peace. It won't change what happened to you. What would you know of our pain? Nothing, Min-Jun admitted. I can't imagine what you endured. But I know that love is rare. Real love, the kind that makes you braver, better, stronger, that's precious. And maybe, he took a breath. Maybe if I succeed, if I prove that gods and mortals can love without bringing disaster, then your deaths won't have been completely meaningless. Maybe it will show that mortals are worth the gods' attention. Worth their protection. Silence filled the chamber. The warrior studied him with ancient, tired eyes. You really believe that? I have to. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the warrior stepped aside. Go, he said quietly. Take the stone. If you truly love her, if you can show the gods that mortals are worth their time, then perhaps our sacrifices will mean something after all. Wait, one of the other spirits protested. Let him pass. The warrior's command was absolute. I am tired of rage. I am tired of guarding. Let someone finally win. Min-Jun moved forward slowly, waiting for the trap. But the spirits parted before him like water. He reached the oracle stone. Up close it was warm, humming with power. He grasped it, and the visions inside exploded, futures branching off in 1,000 directions. He saw himself drowning, saw Idemmili crying over his body, saw them together and happy, saw the world burning. He yanked his hand back, the stone clutched tight against his chest. Thank you, he said to the warrior. The spirit nodded. Don't waste it. Don't waste any of it. Min-Jun ran. The cave seemed to guide him now, showing him the way out. The spirits didn't pursue. Within minutes he saw light, real light, the gray of approaching dawn. He burst from the cave entrance just as the sun crested the horizon. Idemmili caught him as he stumbled, and they crashed to the ground together, the oracle stone rolling safely aside. You did it, she breathed against his neck. You actually did it. Min-Jun was shaking, adrenaline and terror and triumph mixing into something intoxicating. 1 down. 2 to go. She pulled back to look at him, and her eyes were luminous with pride and fear. Min-Jun, the second trial begins tonight. You need to rest. I need to hold you. He pulled her close, feeling her solidity, her warmth, the impossible reality of her. Just for a minute. Let me hold you. They stayed like that as the sun rose, 2 impossible beings finding something real in each other's arms. And overhead, unseen, the gods watched and wondered. The village child appeared at sunset. Min-Jun had slept through most of the day, Idemmili watching over him, her hand never leaving his. Now, as darkness fell, he stood by the river, trying to prepare for a trial he couldn't predict. The child was maybe 7 years old, a girl with wide eyes and her hair in intricate braids. She walked toward them slowly, and there was something wrong about her gait. Something mechanical. She's marked, Idemmili whispered, horror in her voice. Min-Jun saw it then, a symbol glowing faintly on the girl's forehead. Divine script. A death sentence. What does it mean? The gods have chosen her as a sacrifice. To appease the land for the chaos our connection has caused. The crops have been failing. The river has been restless. They blame us. That's insane. That's divine law. Tears tracked down Idemmili's cheeks. One innocent dies so thousands may live. The child stopped before them, her young face serene in a way no child's face should be. Then the voice came, a Madioha's voice speaking through her mouth. Park Min-Jun. Your second trial is this, choose. The child dies and you live to face the third trial. Or you die now and the child lives. The goddess's love costs blood. Choose whose. The world tilted. No, Min-Jun said immediately. There has to be another. There is no other way. Choose or we choose for you and both die. Idemmili grabbed his arm. Min-Jun, listen to me. I'm not letting a child die for me. She's not real. Idemmili's voice cracked. Look at her eyes, really look. Min-Jun did. And he saw it, the faint shimmer, the two perfect movements. Not quite human. Not quite real. It's a test, Idemmili continued desperately. They're testing whether you'll sacrifice yourself. Whether your love is real or selfish. You can't, Min-Jun, you can't choose her. If you die, everything we've fought for. If I let a child die, even a fake one, then I don't deserve you. He turned to the child. I choose myself. I'll die. No. Idemmili threw herself in front of him. You can't. Interesting, Amadioha's voice said through the child. But premature. The child's form shimmered and changed. Her features melted, reformed, became something else entirely. A young river spirit, no older than the girl had appeared, but with eyes that held centuries. Deception within deception, the spirit said in her own voice now, high and musical. The trial was not about choosing death, mortal. It was about revealing your heart. The spirit circled them, studying Min-Jun with ancient curiosity. Most mortals, when faced with sacrifice, hesitate. They calculate. They weigh their life against another's. But you? She smiled. You didn't even think. You simply chose. That tells us everything. Tells you what? Min-Jun's heart was still racing. That your love is not transactional. Not selfish. The spirit reached out and touched his chest, right over his heart. You would die for her not because you expect reward, but because the alternative is unthinkable to you. That is, rare. Idemmili's grip on his arm was crushing. Does that mean? It means he passes the second trial. The spirit stepped back. But know this, Park Min-Jun, the third trial will make this seem merciful. The gods save the worst for last. She dissolved into mist, leaving only the echo of her laughter. Min-Jun turned to Idemmili and found her crying. You were really going to die, she said, her voice breaking. For a child you didn't even know was real. I couldn't risk it. What if she had been real and I'd chosen wrong? That's exactly why they tested you with that scenario. Idemmili pulled him into a fierce embrace. Most people would have rationalized it. Convinced themselves she wasn't real so they could survive. But you? I'm not most people. No. She pulled back to look at him, her eyes swimming with emotions he couldn't name. You're not. And that terrifies me, Min-Jun, because the third trial, her voice caught. The third trial is designed to break the love itself. To destroy what we have. And I don't know if even you can survive that. Tell me what it is. I don't know exactly. But I know it will target the one thing that keeps us together. She pressed her forehead to his. Our connection. Our memory of each other. Our feelings. They can't take those away. Gods can do anything. Fear shook her voice. Promise me something. Whatever happens in there, whatever they make you see or feel, remember this moment. Remember right now. Remember that what we have is real. Min-Jun cupped her face in his hands. Idemmili, you could erase my entire memory and I would still find my way back to you. Some things go deeper than thought. Deeper than memory. This? He pressed his hand over her heart, feeling it beat in rhythm with his own. This is carved into my soul now. They'd have to destroy me completely to take it away. She kissed him then, desperate and deep, like she was trying to pour her entire essence into him. When they broke apart, the moon was high and full, casting silver light across the river. It's time, she whispered. The water began to churn. Min-Jun stood at the river's edge, watching the water rise. The third trial had no cave, no child, no clear enemy. Just the river itself, glowing with otherworldly light, and Idemmili beside him, her hand trembling in his. I have to go into the water? He asked. We both do. Her voice was hollow. The trial takes place in my realm. In the deep places where the river meets the spirit world. And Min-Jun. She turned to him and her eyes were already filling with dread. When we go under, the gods will separate us. They'll make me forget. Everything. Every moment we've shared. Every feeling. You'll be drowning and I'll be the one pulling you under, and I won't know why I should stop. The words hit him like a physical blow. They'll erase your memory? Completely. That's the trial. You have to make me remember while I'm actively trying to kill you. You have to reach me through the fog they'll put in my mind. And if you can't. She didn't need to finish. How long do I have? Until your lungs give out. Maybe 3 minutes. Maybe less in cold water. 3 minutes to make a goddess remember love she didn't know she'd lost. There has to be a way, Min-Jun said, his mind racing. Something that could trigger your memory. Something they can't erase. Idemmili reached into her hair and pulled out a small stone, the same kind that lined the riverbed, but this one glowed faintly with her essence. Take this, she pressed it into his palm. It's a piece of my power. My true self. Even if they erase my conscious memory, it might. Her voice broke. I don't know if it will work. But it's all I have to give you. Min-Jun closed his fist around the stone. It was warm, pulsing like a second heartbeat. I will make you remember, he said with absolute certainty. I don't care what the gods do. I will reach you. You can't know that. Yes, I can. Because what we have isn't just in your head, Idemmili. It's in everything. The way you look at me. The way you breathe when we're close. The way your hand fits in mine. He laced their fingers together. Memory is just the story we tell ourselves. But the truth lives deeper. And I'll find it. I promise. Thunder cracked overhead. The gods were watching. It's time, Amadioha's voice boomed across the water. Enter the river. Face the final trial. Succeed and we convene. Fail and you both drown. Both. Min-Jun's blood chilled. Did you think we'd let her walk away if you died? The thunder god's laugh was cruel. A goddess who loves a mortal this deeply has broken too many laws. If you fail, she shares your fate. That is the true test, Korean. Not just your life but hers. The love you claim to feel, is it worth risking her eternity? Min-Jun looked at Idemmili, saw the acceptance in her eyes. She'd known. She'd known all along that this trial could kill them both, and she'd said nothing. You should have told me, he whispered. Would it have changed anything? No. But still. Then it doesn't matter. She squeezed his hand. Whatever happens down there, Min-Jun, know that these 3 days with you have been worth 3,000 years of loneliness. If we die together. And that's not tragedy. That's a choice. He pulled her close, memorizing everything, the way she smelled like rain and river stones, the way her hair caught moonlight, the way her heart beat against his chest. I love you, he said, the first time he'd spoken the words aloud. Her breath caught. I love you too. Even if I forget, that love will still be true. They walked into the river together. The water was ice-cold, shocking. It rose to their waists, their chests, their necks. Min-Jun's feet left the riverbed, and suddenly they were sinking, pulled down by invisible hands. The last thing he saw before the water closed over his head was Idemmili's face, her eyes wide and terrified and filled with love. Then the pressure hit. The river wasn't just water anymore, it was power, magic, divine essence concentrated into liquid form. It invaded his lungs, his throat, his mind. Min-Jun's vision blurred and he saw shapes in the water. The gods watching. Waiting. And then Idemmili changed. Her eyes, those eyes that had looked at him with such warmth, went cold. Empty. The recognition drained from them like water through a sieve, and what remained was the river goddess in her most primal form. Ancient. Powerful. Merciless. She grabbed him and pulled him deeper. Min-Jun tried to fight, but she was impossibly strong. The riverbed dropped away into darkness, and they plunged into it together. His lungs screamed for air. Panic clawed at his mind. He forced himself to be still. To meet her eyes. Idemmili, he tried to say, but only bubbles emerged. She showed no recognition. Her hands found his throat. Min-Jun didn't resist. Instead, he pulled out the stone she'd given him. Even underwater, it glowed, a small sun in the darkness. He pressed it against her chest, right over her heart. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her grip loosened slightly. Confusion flickered across her face. Min-Jun pressed harder, pouring every ounce of feeling into that stone, into her. Remember. Remember us. Remember this morning, the way you laughed when I made a terrible joke about palm oil. Remember yesterday how you held my hand while I slept after the first trial. Remember 3 days ago, the moment our eyes met and the world stopped. The stone blazed brighter. Idemmili's eyes widened. Her hands fell away from his throat. But she still didn't remember. He could see it, the blankness, the confusion. She was fighting the compulsion to kill him, but she didn't know why. Min-Jun's lungs were burning now. Black spots danced in his vision. He had maybe 30 seconds left. He did the only thing he could think of. He kissed her. Not desperately, not frantically, but softly. Gently. The way he'd kissed her that morning when she'd been half asleep, curled against him, vulnerable and perfect in his. And something in her broke. Idemmili gasped, actually gasped, underwater, and her eyes cleared. Memory rushed back in a flood, and with it came horror. Min-Jun. Her voice was anguished, reaching him through the water. No, no, no. She grabbed him, but not to drown now, to save. They shot upward like a missile, the river parting before them, and then they broke the surface together. Min-Jun sucked in air, coughing, shaking. Idemmili held him tight, her whole body trembling. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I almost killed you, I couldn't remember. Shoo. He stroked her hair with shaking hands. You remembered? That's what matters. You were drowning. I felt your life slipping away and I didn't care, I didn't know you. But you fought it anyway. Even without memory, some part of you knew I mattered. That's what the stone showed you, not memory but truth. The truth your soul knew even when your mind didn't. They floated in the river, holding each other as the moon bore witness. And then the gods appeared. They manifested on the riverbank, all of them, the entire council, their faces grave. He survived, Agwu said quietly. She remembered, Ani added, something like wonder in her voice. Amadioha stood at the front, his expression unreadable. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, 3 trials. 3 days. Park Min-Jun, you have done what no mortal has ever done. You have proven that your love is not selfish, not weak, not destructive. Min-Jun and Idemmili climbed from the water, standing before the gods, still holding each other. The question now, Amadioha continued, is what we do about it. You vote, Min-Jun said, his voice hoarse but steady. That was the deal. I passed the trials, you vote on whether we can be together. Indeed. The thunder god looked to his fellow deities. Let us vote now. All in favor of allowing this union, this breaking of ancient law, speak now. I vote yes. Ani stepped forward. He has shown courage, sacrifice and love beyond measure. If we deny this, we deny the very values we claim to uphold. Yes, Agwu agreed. I have seen countless mortals in my time. Few possess this one's heart. One by one the gods voted. Yes, yes, yes. Until only Amadioha remained. The thunder god's jaw was tight, his eyes stormy. I vote, no. The word fell like a hammer. Brother, Ani protested. Let me finish. Amadioha raised a hand. I vote no to the current terms. Because this conditional love, this, you can be together but with restrictions, is not enough. If we truly believe this love is worthy, then we should honor it fully. He turned to Idemmili and Min-Jun, and for the first time, something like respect showed in his eyes. I propose a new arrangement. Idemmili, you may take human form and walk among mortals as you choose. Your divine nature remains, but you are free to build a life with this man. However, his gaze sharpened. Every full moon you must return to the river for 1 night. To renew your connection to your realm, to fulfill your duties as river goddess. This is not negotiable. Idemmili's breath caught. You're saying? I'm saying you can have both. Your love and your purpose. But there is one condition. Amadioha looked at Min-Jun. If you ever try to follow her on those full moon nights, if you ever spy on her sacred rituals, if you ever let jealousy or possessiveness override your trust, she will be trapped in the river forever. And you will turn to stone on the riverbank, watching her for eternity, but never able to touch. Do you accept these terms? Min-Jun didn't hesitate. Yes. You should think about it. I don't need to. I trust her. Completely. 1 night a month apart is nothing compared to a lifetime together. Amadioha studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. The council has spoken. Idemmili, you are free to live as you choose. The laws are adjusted. The word hung in the air, adjusted. Not broken. Not discarded. Change. Progress. Idemmili was crying, laughing, shaking. She turned to Min-Jun and kissed him fiercely, and this time no gods objected. No laws were broken. They were simply 2 beings, divine and mortal, who had fought heaven and earth for the right to love each other. When they finally broke apart, the gods were fading. Thank you, Min-Jun called out. Amadioha paused, half dissolved into thunder. Don't thank me, Korean. Prove me right. Show us that this love was worth changing 3,000 years of law. Show us that mortals are worthy of the gods' time and attention. I will. We will. The thunder god almost smiled. I believe you might. And then they were gone, leaving only the river, the moon, and 2 impossible lovers who had become possible. 6 months later. The market was alive again but different now. Better. Min-Jun stood at his stall, officially established, properly licensed, no more sleeping in barns. Lumiere Sol, Afro-Korean skincare fusion, read the sign above his head, written in both Korean and Igbo. Business was booming. The palm kernel oil cream he developed with Idemmili's help, using sacred river herbs that she'd blessed, had become a sensation. Korean innovation meets Igbo tradition. The bottles sold out as fast as he could make them. But the real success wasn't the business. It was the woman beside him, laughing with customers, her human form as breathtaking as her divine one. She wore a traditional wrapper and blouse today, her hair in intricate braids courtesy of the market women who'd adopted her as one of their own. "You're staring again," Idemmili said without looking at him, a smile playing at her lips. "Can you blame me?" She glanced over, and the look in her eyes made his heart skip. "We close in an hour." "Counting down." "Always." She leaned close, her voice dropping. "Though tonight's different. Have you forgotten? The full moon. Her first night back to the river since they'd started this new life." Min-Jun felt the familiar tug of worry, not jealousy, never jealousy, but concern. "I haven't forgotten. And I trust you. Come back safe." She kissed his cheek. "I always will." That night, Min-Jun stood in their small apartment above the shop, watching the moon rise. Idemmili had left an hour ago, returning to the river for her sacred duties. The apartment felt too quiet without her. He made tea. Read a book. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. Around midnight he found himself at the window looking toward the river. He could see its faint glow from here, could imagine Idemmili in her true form, dancing with her sister spirits, powerful and free in his trust, he reminded himself. This was the price of their love, these monthly separations. And it was worth it. God, it was worth it. He was about to turn away when he saw it. A figure on the riverbank. Watching. Wearing a cloak that seemed to absorb moonlight. Min-Jun's blood chilled. The figure turned, and even from this distance, Min-Jun felt the weight of its gaze. Malevolent. Hungry. Wrong. Then it smiled, a flash of two white teeth, and melted into shadows. Min-Jun stood frozen at the window, his heart hammering. Who was that? The gods had voted. The laws were changed. They were safe now. Weren't they? If you've made it this far, you're amazing. Drop a like if you want to see what happens next, and comment, Part 2, if you want the continuation of Min-Jun and Idemmili's story. Subscribe so you never miss the next chapter, because that figure by the river? It's not done with them yet. Trust me, things are about to get wild. Hit that notification bell and I'll see you in the next one.